Hello everybody and welcome to this video. This video is part 1 of how to get a 5 and above in English language. In today's video we'll be focusing on the language questions for both paper 1 and paper 2. This video will help you to develop skills, knowledge and understanding of what to do in order to achieve a grade 5 and above. It will give you the ability to look at some sample work and give you an insight in how to raise your grade, as well as the opportunity to reflect on your own progress. Both language questions on both papers have the same assessment objective, AO2. They both assess the language part of the AO. So, you'll be expected to explain, comment on and analyse how writers use language to achieve effects and influence readers, using relevant subject terminology to support your views. Question 2, paper 1, and question 3, paper 2 will test your ability to analyse how writers use language to achieve effects and will look something like this. This is question 2 on paper 1. Look in detail at this extract from lines 8 to 18 of the source. How does the writer use language here to describe the effects on the weather? You could include the writer's choice of words and phrases, language features and techniques, and sentence forms. This question is worth 8 marks. You'll be awarded marks for looking at language features from lines 8 to 18. You'll be awarded marks for analysing at word level, so the zooming in effect, and phrases, so short quotations. Explaining why the writer has used a particular language feature or technique, and looking at sentence form in the content of the actual extract. Question 3 on paper 2 will look something like this. As you can see from this question is worth 12 marks. However, you do not get the 3 bullet points. With this in mind, you must remember to analyse words and phrases, language features and techniques, and sentence forms. So, overall, for both questions on both papers, you'll be awarded marks for using accurate quotations which are embedded and taken from the stated lines, analysing at sentence level as well as word level, so that word level analysis is very important, analysing sentence structure and forms, naming the language technique or feature. However, you will not get marks for technique spotting. You will only be awarded marks if you can explain why the writer has used a particular language feature or technique. So what do you need to do to get a minimum of a grade 5? The exam board have stated that work needs to be in level 3 of the mark scheme consistently in order to achieve a minimum of a grade 5. This means that your work needs to be in level 3 for every single question in both papers. Your work needs to be clear and relevant in order to get into the level 3 of the mark scheme. So what does a grade 5 look like? GCSE grades are not strictly aligned to marks and levels, but getting to grade 5 will require you to exhibit skills that are consistently in level 3 of the mark scheme. The keywords of level 3 in the reading part of the mark scheme, so section A, are clear and relevant. So what does the exam board mean by this? A level 3 response would be relevant, accurate, fully explained, and would require no further questions in order for the examiner to deem it appropriate from the mark in that level. So that means the examiner can clearly understand your trail of thought. On a practical level, there will be evidence of clear inferencing, so a clear comment on why the writer has used a particular language feature, as well as a clear comment on the effect on the reader. Additionally, you will select a range of relevant textual detail, so quotations. So the key word is a range, so more than one, so 2 to 3, as well as making a clear and accurate use of subject terminology, so making sure you are not labelling something as simile when potentially it could be a metaphor, etc. In your response, in order to show that you are worthy or your answer is worthy of a level 3, there will be evidence of a clear inference, for example, using the zooming in approach. The zooming in approach will enable you to explore the effects of a particular word, so exploring the effect of language at word level, rather than giving a general analysis of a particular phrase, which sometimes could often lead to a level 2 response. So what do the exam board expect from you in order to get into level 3 and above? The exam board expect that you will select 2 or 3 language-rich phrases, zoom in on words to explain and analyse their effects, so word level analysis, link your analysis to the context of the passage, and use subject terminology to enhance your response. Remember, you will not be awarded marks for labelling subject terms. You will only be awarded marks if you can explain why the writer has used a particular language features and the effect on the reader. You will not be awarded marks for labelling language techniques or features without commenting on the effect, inferring on the content of the passage, and making empty explanations such as "it makes me want to read on, it gives me a picture in my head," as these are only worthy of a level 1. So what do the exam board suggest? How should you structure your paragraphs? The exam board suggests that you use a PEASL type structure in order to remind you to clearly analyse language at word level. PEASL means point, evidence, so your quotation, explanation, which is your analysis, zoom, Z for zooming in on a word or method and explaining the effect clearly, so that word level analysis and explaining why the writers use a particular aggressive verb or a metaphor and the effect on the reader, and then linking back your explanation to the context of the extract itself. So let's have a look at this PEASL paragraph in action and how the candidate has used the zooming in effect. These responses are only part of an answer and have come from paper 2 of the 2017 November series. The question is, how does the writer use language to describe Sister Brendan? Let's have a look at the level 2 response. The writer describes her as having small facial face features, so this is their point, all about her face features and them being quite small. He does this by using adjectives like sight, thin, tiny, little. You can see here that the candidate has named the technique, so adjectives, and given an appropriate quotation. However, they have not analysed these quotations or explained the effect on the reader, or what does it imply about Sister Brendan. The candidate then goes on to say, a simile is used when Sister Brendan is compared to a small black bird. Once again, they've used a technique and they've got a quotation. However, the candidate has not explained why the writers use this technique, or what does this quotation suggest about Sister Brendan. Finn, which is the writer, uses the adjective glittering to describe her eyes, suggesting they have a shine in them. Here you can see that they have a technique and a quotation, as well as an inference here. So, the exam board has said the reason why this is a level 2 response is because it does make references to appropriate devices and textual details. However, the effect on the word glittering, as well as a number of other quotations, is not developed enough, and therefore they have not explored the effect on the reader. Now let's move on to a level 3 response. Once again, the question is, how does the writer use language to describe Sister Brendan? The writer uses animal imagery and a simile to highlight the head teacher's energetic and extremely enthusiastic approach. Here you can see they've named the technique, animal imagery and simile, but they've also explained why the writer has used it. What is the effect of using these techniques? And they have said it's to show how energetic and enthusiastic the Sister Brendan is. They then have their quote, Sister Brendan looked like a small hungry black bird out for the early worm. So this quotation links to their point on animal imagery and the simile. The writer uses a simile to compare the head of the skull to a predator looking for its prey. The use of the animal imagery of Sister Brendan being the black bird and the writer being an earlyworm suggests that the writer will be eaten for the good of Sister Brendan. Here, the examiners have said there is a clear explanation of the writer's use of words such as the black bird and worm, which explores the metaphor of a bird and its prey. They also suggest to develop this answer, and therefore potentially moving it up a grade or a level, the candidate might have said more about the adjective hungry to reflect Sister Brendan's ambition and eagerness, or even her desire to influence the inspector's opinion towards the school with her enthusiasm. So, the examiner top tips for these language questions are: you need to use subject terminology only where relevant, as technique spotting will not get you any marks. You need to explain why the writers use a particular technique and what is the effect on the reader. You only need to give one clear comment on the effect, which will get you into level 3. There is no hierarchy of terms, such as adjectives, verbs, adverbs, simile, metaphor, personification. Any of these features will get you into level 4. And there is no need for a really lengthy answer. You only need to select 2 to 3 examples and explore in detail. So it's the idea of writing a lot about a little. Additionally, and lastly, the exam would have made it very clear that zooming in on words, so analysing at word level, and making one clear comment will get you into that level 3. So let's look at a full-length answer that got into level 3 of the mark scheme. It may be useful to think about how the student uses this zooming in effect and how subject terminology is used to enhance the comments on the effect. This has been taken out of, once again, the November series, however, paper 1. The question is, how does the writer use language here to describe the mountain area? Remember, this whole answer needs to be focused on the stem of the question, which is, how does the writer use language to describe the mountain area? Not the weather, not the people, but the mountain area. So here we go. The writer uses a synthetic list, so they've got their technique, in pink and white and mauve, with the lack of pauses demonstrating to the reader how overwhelming the sudden appearance of the delicate flowers can be. So they've got their technique, they've got their quotation, and they've got their explanation as well as linking it back to the reader. These bright colours also contrast with the current state of the mountain area, with its dark browns helping to emphasise how the sun has flattened the area. The verb flattened, so they're looking at word level analysis here as well as given a technique, makes the sun seem aggressive, as though it has forcibly drained the life from the mountains. So they've not just looked at the word flattened, but they've explained the effect of why the writers use this particular word, because they could have used any word. They then go on to, the delicacy of the flowers is also shown in the writer's use of the word peep. This personifies the flowers as almost being shy, so this is their analysis, and makes the submission of the land seem all the more plausible. This almost creates sympathy for the reader, so they're linking it back to the reader, as the sun is presented as a form of a bully preying on the delicate flowers. So they've got their analysis here. The emotive adjective, so once again they're zooming in, delicate, seems to suggest, so they've got their inference, that they are the weaker members of the mountain society. As you can see, the reason why this full-length answer got into the level 3 is because 1, they have clear points, 2, they have relevant quotations which match their point, 3, they have named the technique the writer uses and explained why the writers use that technique. They have also zoomed in at word level, as well as linked things back to the reader. Thank you for watching, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel before you leave. If you found this video helpful and would like more tutorials, then please press the like button and leave a comment down below. Until next time, goodbye.